So, how does everybody feel? He's coming along, huh? All right, we'll try it again. Okay, ready? Preparation. Okay, deep breathing. Okay, You want to go through it one more time? The third time? Okay, ready? Okay, deep breathing. So let's just look at fan through the back and then parry and punch. So that's the ending movements. So how do we get that to be smoother, get a better sort of movements compatible with direction? Does everyone understand what that means, even though you probably hear that term a lot? Compatible with motion. Anybody? No? So we're in the insert needle. So let's just take that position. We have the mirror here, right? We have the mirror. We're in a position. We turn to the back. So in this position, right? And we turn. So what has to coordinate or work with the space and direction of movement? If we're turning like this, then the hands have to go through the same pattern and process that you do when you're doing the drill that Rob takes you through. When you turn your body to the rear 45-degree corner, it's sort of like doing the breaststroke, right? When you're swimming, you're turning, and then you're coming to your center, and then on the way back, this other hand is doing this. That's a cross-lateral relationship. So if I'm turning here, then the hands have to be working with the direction of the body, right? So when I turn, I'm turning this way. So this and this is part of that rotation. Now because I'm coming up like this, I sink down, but then I'm still turning. Yeah. So so if I look at Irina's insert needle, her shoulders up like this and she's inserting like this, so all this is tense. You have to fold and then turn and relax the shoulder. Don't come over the top like this. If you come over the top like this, what's missing? The elbow's missing. If you go like this, and because it's out there, there's something that's holding your arm out there. Muscular tension. So the conflict in movement is going to be here because the elbow is not directed. So when you go to here, the first thing, you have to fold the elbow and then take it so that on the downside is the elbow down. On the insert side, you have to get your appendage in the right position before you start to execute. So when you go down, your shoulder should be not, your body should not be tilted like this. It should be just coming around, and if you insert the needle, it should be like this, right? But first you have to get this hand here. So once we're here, as we step up, we're in the vertical spine position. And then we lean, and the elbows go out, and then you turn. So that's where the synchronization of your body, your torso, and the hand movements have to be compatible. This fan through the back is a separation of movement. It's called splitting. So if I insert the needle, that's sort of combine and separate, right? Now if I separate, now I'm sitting back. If you look from the side view, what's going to happen? I'm going to sit back, then I'm going to turn. So if I turn, my body starts to twist, and now I'm in the vertical line, right? So I'm in the vertical line, and then I have to come back down because I shift back. I shift back, and then I pick my leg up, and then I'm like this. And then the turning of the direction is like this, then my arm has to go this way. And because I'm coming back, this coming to here is like this coming to here. You see, the 6 joints here, the 6 joints here, the 6 here, and 6 here are the joints I'm talking about. Each piece is a component. Each piece has to be involved with the movement. If you go like this, then the elbow is missing. So, you see what I mean? So you have to be aware of your own movement. So that's the visual aesthetics, the visual part of the movement. That's what we don't see because the body doesn't recognize where it's supposed to be making its, changes and how to be compatible with the direction, right? So if I'm fanned through the back here and I sit back and then I turn, this is just going with the space and the movement, because what we're dealing with is space, direction, and control of those components based on the direction, sinking the elbow, relaxing the shoulder, vertical spine. These are concepts. So if I'm here, insert the needle, lift the spine, turn the body, spread the hands, sit back, turn, shift your weight back, here, turn, everything is tracking. Now you're back to center and you punch. You bring the hands cross and separate the hands, go over the top. We're sitting back, we turn, we relax the shoulders, we lift the hands and shoulders. Now we drop the shoulders. Now we lift up and we spread the hands, drop the elbows and knees, and then straighten up. That's upper lower coordination, spatial and dimensional changes, compatibility with direction, finding the vertical line in the spine, which is the head to toe position, and inserting, trying to maintain as much as you can without sticking your butt out. We're sitting into the stance, open and spread the arms, sit and turn, and parry and punch. So here's something that maybe you may not have picked up or realized, that in fan to the back, our ribs open here. When I turn, I sink this side of the body and this side opens. And then I sit back and I turn. Now I'm into my vertical position. My leg goes up. It's compatible with that. My hand is turning and I'm in the vertical line and I punch. You see, that's what vertical spine is. Heel and toe, head tail relationship. Hands turning, turning, turning. These are XYZ axes. Right to left, forward and back is all built into those movements. Because we have dimensional changes in our movement. It's three-dimensional movement. And each dimension, XYZ, has in itself two directions. Forward and back, right and left, up and down. Right? And then in between there, you crisscross your movements as you go through the space. That's what multi-dimensional movement is. That's the Tai Chi's ball. It's a ball, it's a sphere. Inside your movements are these movements that really is captured in here. Where circles here, where circles here, where circles here. And even just going to hold the ball position from Jade Lady Work Shuttle, right? When we go to hold the ball, you have a dimension of change here. I'm turning like this, but when I turn like this, I have to fill this ball. I can't turn like this and then have this collapsed arm position. You don't have a ball there. You have a position like this. So when you're turning and you fill this ball, it's a filling here with this space, and your body becomes the volume of that movement. So when you come to a position and you turn, this arm is moving in this direction because I'm turning in that direction. This hand is scooping, and it creates this position because I'm in my stance. So between this, and this is dimension of movement. So if you understand the space, then your body will understand the shape. And it's all patterns and circles. That's all it is. But, ultimately it's a control factor, I call it. When your body is being controlled by these movements, even though it's not lots of muscular strength, it's actually a control of your musculature, creating the shapes by manipulating your skeleton. That's a kinetic sequence. Movement is driven by your musculature, created by the neurons firing into your muscles to create the different shapes. The intensity of movement is controlled by that contraction in the muscle. And all of that is happening through your proprioceptive reflexes and your sensitivity to the position. Now, once you have this position and it's memorized in the body, then it's muscle memory, it's learned. So now it becomes more and more relaxed. It has integrity of position. It has strength in the movement. But it's not the brute strength. It's not tension strength. It's not stiffness. It's fluidness, and it's called, maybe you can consider tonus. A certain muscular tension to sustain the position and then move on the other side. So the two opposites are sustaining your position and motion. Those two have to balance. That's passive and active movement. So it's kind of, interesting, but it's a theory. It's a concept. So you have to build that into your movement as a principle. Then all your movements become similar to that. Right? So that's why when we go through the form, the memorization of the sequence is good for the mind, but it's also necessary to change your movement so your body becomes connected, and that sequence, the kinetic sequential event of those movements, has sustainability in motion. And what's sustaining? When I'm here, this is sustaining. When I shift, this is sustaining. When I step up and make my minute adjustment and sink, this is sustaining. And then you pass through here, and then you open, and you sink, and you rise. You see? That's stimulation of circulation, and people will say, "Oh, that's chi, it's energy, it's all this." That's too mystical to understand what that is. But in movement, it has to be sequential and it's orderly, and that's why it's such a tremendous benefit, as a prevention of age-related degeneration, because the degeneration is the non-use of those types of motion. So non-use means it doesn't exist. If it doesn't exist, then the parts that need that to happen goes away. So for the younger people, you build this and it stays. For older people, you retain it or strive to get it. And that complexity of stuff that's up in here really feeds the rest of you. So that's how that's how I interpret it. You're not going to find a book that tells you that this is how it works, because no one thinks along these lines. There are these principles and theories in different disciplines, but it's fragmented. Sustainability, holding a posture, stretch, directional change. All of this stuff is movement like any other activity we do. It could be dance, it could be ballroom dancing, it could be skiing, it could be anything. You're always working in space, but how good do you get? You have to understand really the space. I watch, there's a tennis court next to where I am, and I see this teacher teaching these students how to do a forehand strike, but what's always missing is the body. They can't get the ball. They don't know where to hit the racket to send it to a specific place, because that's accuracy, and it's really the positioning between here, there, and there. So if the body doesn't turn, it's not going to go there. It's going to end up over there. And you can't control the direction of movement if it's only on the face of the racket. It has to be controlled by the total body position. But that's kind of deep for someone just learning how to play tennis, right? So let's go to the 42, which is more of the same. No, you can just stay here. You just follow along. What, honey? Yeah. Okay, so we open. Oops, don't follow me. So this is grasp the sparrow's tail. Okay, good. And try it again. You can run through it again. Ready? In fall rock. See how it looks. Ready? Begin. Okay, deep breathing. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So all the things. I talk a lot in classes. Some people appreciate it, some people don't. But the thing is, you know, this type of information, because I'm an American-born Chinese, and I wasn't very fluid in my own language in the early days, because Chinese kids growing up in America didn't really want to speak Chinese. It's become popular in the last 30, 40 years when Mandarin has become the language of choice, kind of a universal language. But when I was growing up, no one wanted to speak Chinese. That's why a lot of my generation didn't really speak the language. But because I was so interested in martial arts during those years, and my teacher didn't speak English, so all the concept and theories that he was teaching me was in Chinese. And some people would say, how can you ever learn that? Because you don't speak the language. So all of the questions that I had interpreted, because while movement is universal, what's the blockage is the language. So I had to learn and interpret what the meanings were, like what is a term called yi, what is qi, what is all these things. I had to kind of research and develop and try to understand what it is in terms that is tangible to me, or actually understood in a world of mysticism. So that's why I talk a lot about this, because my last 50 years has been trying to figure this out and trying to understand what all this, mystical things that people talk about in Tai Chi and martial arts, how can it be explained as strength and force and power and energy, Qi, So I have to look into everything, physiology, exercise, kinetics, movement, kinesiology. I look at everything, the psychological side of it, what happens to your body. So, I come down with certain, understanding based on the science. And I try to explain it so that people that study and they're interested in the long term actually understand more about why it works and how it works. And it has to do with everything I talk about. As being creatures of habit, energy and movement really is tied to your, in Chinese, even non-martial arts would talk about qi, that it flows in the blood, it's qi. They didn't really understand oxygen back in those days. Red blood cells, fluidity in the body, fluids in the body, circulation. All of this stuff is tied to the energy in the body. And there is energy in the body. It's tied to the electricity that we have in our body. You say, well, how would our body have electricity? Electricity is that. But it has to do with the potentials of the chemicals in the body from the nutrients that we take. So there is